Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio. We're so glad you joined us. My name is J. Darren Gross, and I am a real estate investor and a commercial property insurance broker. I've been an insurance broker for 25 years, and my primary client base is and has been real estate investors, landlords, developers, design professionals, and lenders. Based on this, I'm continually looking for more information about real estate investing for both my own investments and so that I can better serve my clients. The result of this passion has led to the creation of Commercial Real Estate Pro Network and CREPN Radio. My goal is to have and share in a conversation with experts on topics of interest to commercial real estate professionals and investors. You can find us by Googling Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. We have a Facebook page. We've also got a YouTube page. We've got a LinkedIn group. If you are on LinkedIn, I'm begging you to check out Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. There's a ton of great information in there. There's deals, there's lenders, there's wholesale deals, there's professional input from saw some attorneys, some accountants, property managers. They're all in there. We also have our Twitter handle. It's at CRE Pro Network, and you can also find us on iTunes on the podcast Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And let's not forget, we've got a webpage, commercialrealestatepronetwork.com. How you can help, if you like what you hear, please let us know. We hope that you'll let us know by liking, commenting, sharing our interviews in your network. All right, now that you know a little bit about us, it's time to set up for today's program. And what we're going to talk about specifically is not commercial, but earthquakes and building retrofit. It's not that long ago that the building codes were upgraded to a more stringent requirement that is more of a earthquake proof. I don't think that's the right word, but the building codes have certainly been upgraded so that your structure can withstand a shaking of the earth. And if you don't know, this is why it's of interest to me and to my clients, is that the standard insurance policy excludes, listen to this, earth movement, okay? And to be clear, earth movement includes earthquakes, tremors and aftershocks, landslide, sinking, mine subsidence, and also the rising and shifting of any of those. So I thought it would be a good idea to go and have a conversation, or actually seek out a professional and have a conversation with somebody that does retrofitting and to bring you that information, bring you that interview. So I sought out, there's a local professional here who's been doing this for a number of years. His name's Steve Gemmell. He's got a company called Earthquake Tech. And I was able to actually go out in the field and visit a job site where he gave me a tour of the job and showed me how they were doing the actual installation of these plates that attach the structure to the foundation. A little bit about Steve. Steve has inspected thousands of buildings. He's installed hundreds of seismic retrofits. He's consulted with several professional structural engineers, and he's helped develop seismic retrofit method for every type of foundation. He's consulted with the City of Portland Development Services and has helped to strengthen their seismic program back in 2011. And he's also developed a program for individuals and do-it-yourselfers and classes, and he's also consulted with real estate agents, home inspectors, and insurance agents. So with that, I hope you'll sit back and listen to my interview with Steve Gemmell of Earthquake Tech. I'm out here in the field with Steve Gemmell. He's the owner and operator of Earthquake Tech. He's been an earthquake retrofitting company since 1999. And Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started and how Earthquake Tech came about?
Sure. So I started out in '94 here as a painter. I had my own painting company. And at that point in time, when I got my license with the state, I had a pretty easy option of opting to get my general contractor's license instead of just a specialty license. So I wanted to keep my horizons broad, so I got my general contractor's license. And I painted homes. Then my sister, who had some properties here, asked me to do a few other things. I'd worked through high school and college helping out contractors and doing a lot of painting. So that's why I started painting. So I helped her do some things and started to actually advertise as a general contractor, a remodeling contractor, and started doing more work in that vein other than just painting. And as I was doing that, I realized that really if I ever wanted to retire, I would not make my retirement remodeling other people's homes. So I was able to purchase a fixer back in the day, and my dad suggested that I get earthquake insurance. He was aware of this fault line. And so I called up State Farm, asked them for an insurance policy, and he asked me if my house was bolted down, which I had no idea what that meant. So I called up my engineer that I was working with and who I still work with today, Adam Rollin, and I asked him what it was. What is this? And so he told me what it was, and he told me how to do it. So I started by bolting my house down and figured out if State Farm was requiring this, that there was going to be a future in doing this. So we started then, did a few retrofitting jobs here and there, but did remodeling mainly, and got a lot of weird stares. People thought we were a little crazy. But we got hired by the Californians and the OPBers, people viewing the late night public broadcast of earthquake threats on the West Coast. And gradually, after major events like the 2004 event in Indonesia, and of course recently Japan, Christchurch, it's become a well-known fact that we live off of this huge subduction zone off the coast here. And people are buying up these old homes that aren't connected to their foundations. So we're just going gangbusters.
So from your home to the neighbors and through the city you go, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Got it. So let's take a look here quick and just describe to us a little bit about what you have here with the plates there.
So what we've got going on is we're using our flat plate because it has a nice low profile. It's flat to connect to the foundation, and then we've used some 6-inch screws here to connect back into the sill plate behind this 2x2. So what that's done is it's gotten us connected to the very first piece of wood that was put down on top of the foundation after it had cured a little bit. Framers wanted to get started. The sill plate was really put down so that people had something to tack the joist system to as they built the house. The sill plate's not really a structural piece. So because of that, we had to connect then from the sill plate up into the joist system via the rim joist, the banding joist that is attached to all the joists at their ends as they run into the banding joist. So that gets a good grip into the joist structure and the body of the house. So we've done that here every 6 feet. It's based on a schedule that calls for one story homes to be bolted every 6 feet. It's a prescriptive path. It's basically best process that engineers have devised for this kind of work. It changes when we get into a 2-story house. We go to a 4-foot schedule. Then it'll change where we'll have to have an engineer out to really look at the house because of some variance, like it has the added weight of, say, a full brick facade. Now, the original structures back in the day when they did brick facades, they used the full 4-inch brick. And so that adds quite a little bit of mass and load to the formula, and it's something that has to be thought out by an engineer instead of just your standard path.
Got it. So the summary, you're attaching the foundation to the exterior perimeter wall,
Yep.
so that everything, if it's going to move together. Is that the?
Well, the idea is that we've connected the joist system to the perimeter of the whole structure. So we're now using the joist system as a diaphragm where all the walls are connected to it and are helping each other out. So no one wall can be acted upon independently. They're all helping each out when forces are being loaded up on the structure.
Got it. Now this is a wood frame structure on top of a foundation.
Yeah.
How does it change, or does it change if you go to a cinder block or a brick structure?
Well, unreinforced masonry cannot take on lateral loads. So literally, you have to do something that either replaces it, so you could put in a new foundation, or use a system like the SR wall system we use that effectively attaches a new structural wall to the foundation and holds the foundation in place so the block or the brick doesn't just separate when the seismic forces are applied to it. So it's a lot more involved.
Gotcha.
You just can't simply connect the brick or block up to the wooden structure. It just doesn't work.
Got it. And if, well, we've attached the foundation to the first story, going up additional stories, is there additional?
It certainly doesn't hurt to look at connections between stories when you've got a home that is not built with plywood, which a lot of these old homes are built without plywood. Anything built, gosh, I can't recall when plywood was first brought to Portland, but it's the 60s, essentially, where maybe the late 60s, where it started to be installed on every new structure. So in those homes, you'd want to look at those connections from floor to floor. But plywood essentially makes that connection in a newer home.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I think one of the things that always drives me when considering doing something like this is, cost. Without trying to dive into pricing, what can somebody expect to spend on something to do this?
The unfinished basement is the best animal to approach because there's nothing but the concrete and the wooden structure to deal with. When you get into doing some demolition, it increases the price. A bigger house obviously increases the price. If you have a brick, concrete block, or clay block foundation, that's going to affect the price hugely. But I would say your average home will range from $3,000 to $6,000. A 2-story, 30 by 30 foot home could be as little as 25 to 28. if it's unfinished. But you know, those don't happen every day. Most people have a combination of some sort of finished basement with maybe a partially finished garage or unfinished garage or a crawl space. So those fall in the $3,000 to $6,000 category.
Gotcha. So, primary concerns for somebody considering this, what would be some things that you would encourage somebody to look beyond or to consider that maybe is not talked about readily in earthquake retrofit? I mean,
well, I think thoroughness. You want to know what a thorough retrofit is. What you want to know exactly what's being done. Is the sill plate being connected to the rest of the house? That's a major one. And then even floor-to-floor connections are good to do in the earlier homes. And then your water heater. You want your water heater strapped down properly, so that really, number one, you have drinkable water after a major incident. You've got 50 gallons of drinkable water in your water heater. People don't think about that, but that might be what you resort to after 3 weeks, or more likely after 3 days without water. So that's important. A gas valve, where you're installing a motion-activated gas shutoff valve that will protect your home from a potential gas fire when it's set off by the motion of the house as it's shaking in the earthquake. That's a good thing to have. Fire does a lot of damage in 1906 in San Francisco, but even to this day, when they had the earthquakes in Napa, a lot of gas fires, or the earthquake in Napa, there were a lot of gas fires. Yeah.
right. Well, this is impressive. I mean, just to see the actual the bolting and to watch your crew, do this work. We talked a little. Did we talk a little bit about the year of the code change?
Well, no, we didn't. 1976 is the year that Portland adopted code that required sill plate bolts in new structures. Even then, it was shaky. I've been in plenty of homes where there are bolts sticking up out of the sill plate with no washer and no nut, or the bolt doesn't stick quite up past the sill plate. So I think there's a lot of communication there, and really not a whole lot of thought given to it when it first started out here. I find that the 80s even, there's a lack of enthusiasm in the bolting. As you get to the later 80s, early 90s, you're going to see a much better scenario. And then it wasn't until 1990 that Portland adopted a seismic code, an official seismic code. So ever since 1990, we've been jumping up the ladder in regards to how complex that code is getting. Realizing how serious the fault line is off our coast here, we've greatly increased the code.
Got it. So, in your mind, then, any residential structure built prior to 1990 would be one of potential.
I would even look
concern,
into the 90s, because that's just the beginning of seismic code. So today, there's a lot more involved where they follow what's called shear load, stiffness of the building, all the way down from the top floor of the structure through to the basement. You create a stiff load path, that's called, so that the house is connected to it and won't just shake to bits.
Gotcha.
So those are definitely considerations for people that have an early 90s house. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think, is there something I should have asked you that I've forgotten to that would... Oh, I know. Okay, so
I get this done on my property.
Yeah.
What do I need to present to an insurance company in order to then be able to purchase earthquake insurance?
Well, seismic retrofitters are supposed to write summary reports on our letterhead to give to the client that addresses the requirements that the insurance companies have, which are typically having the perimeter of the house connected up into the sill plate and the joist framing, making sure the water heater's been strapped down, and making sure that any areas of cripple wall construction have plywood. So those are the three main areas that insurance companies are curious about. Of course, if you have a structure that's not, there is built of unreinforced masonry, you're going to have to go some steps further into either replacing or creating a system that works with the old foundation to get insurance. Although I know there are insurance companies out there that don't require anything to be done that will give you an earthquake policy.
For now.
For now, yeah. So that's really it for the insurance requirements. I always looked to the gas valve as the next thing. It would be horrible to watch your very well bolted home burn. Gas fires are unpredictable and do happen. So that's about all I can think of.
Got it. And real quick before I let you go, what's the best way for somebody to contact you if they have questions or want to consider an earthquake retrofit for their structure?
Well, in this day and age, you can still use the phone and call our office at 503-282-4424 or write to info@earthquaketech.com or steve@earthquaketech.com. And you can also check our website, www.earthquaketech, and that's spelled TECH.com.
And for our listeners, I'll go ahead and put a link to Steve's website and Earthquake Tech's website at the end of this show, so you'll see that. But Steve, I want to say thanks again for taking the time to show us around.
Sure.
And appreciate all the good information.
My pleasure.
All right, that was Steve Gemmell with Earthquake Tech. I hope you enjoyed that. I found it incredibly useful for me to actually go out and see what it actually is involved in doing an earthquake retrofit. And if you care to, I'm going to invite you also. We did a little bit more of an extensive video with this, and that's available on the YouTube channel, again, at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network, the channel on YouTube. So with that, again, I hope you enjoyed it. For more information about retrofitting, you can seek out Steve Gemmell and his website. That's www.earthquaketech, and that's TECH. So earthquake, EARTHQUAKE, TECH.com. For our listeners, remember Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. Again, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Can't stress that enough. If you're on LinkedIn, check us out, join the group, participate in the conversation. And also our Twitter handle at CRE Pro Network. And the website, again, don't forget, commercialrealestatepronetwork.com. Remember, spread the word, like, follow, share, and comment. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network and CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.